January 2026. While the world's eyes are fixed on the stars, searching for signals from distant galaxies, a much older and more immediate mystery remains unsolved, right here on Earth. Covering over 70% of our planet, the oceans are not just a body of water. They are a vast, crushing, and largely unexplored frontier. We have better maps of the surface of Mars than we do of our own ocean floor. And it is within this inner space that the United States Navy has encountered something that should not exist. Welcome to TrenchWaters, where we dive deep into the mysteries of the abyss. Today, we are investigating the most classified and terrifying anomalies in naval history, Unidentified Submerged Objects, or USOs. Imagine you are a sonar technician aboard a multi-billion-dollar Virginia-class nuclear submarine. You are gliding through the dark, silent depths of the Pacific. Suddenly, your display lights up. An object appears on the acoustic sensors. It isn't a whale, and it isn't a Russian or Chinese submarine. It is moving at over 150 knots, nearly 170 miles per hour. For context, the fastest torpedoes in the world barely reach 50 knots, and the physical resistance of water is nearly 800 times denser than air. At that speed, the friction alone should tear any man-made structure apart. Yet this object isn't just moving, it's maneuvering. It makes a sharp 90-degree turn without slowing down, defying the laws of inertia and fluid dynamics. This is a fast mover. For decades, the public has been obsessed with UFOs in the sky, but for the elite pilots and sailors of the Navy, the real terror lies beneath the waves. These anomalies demonstrate what scientists call transmedium capability. This is the ability of a craft to operate with equal ease in space, the atmosphere, and the deep ocean. In several documented encounters, including the famous 2004 Nimitz incident, Navy pilots watched in disbelief as objects descended from 80,000 feet, the edge of space, and plunged into the ocean at hypersonic speeds, hitting the water without creating a splash or a sonic boom. How is this possible? In our current understanding of physics, moving from air to water at such speeds would be like hitting a brick wall. The energy displacement alone would be catastrophic. Yet these USOs seem to manipulate the medium around them, perhaps creating a vacuum or a localized gravity field that allows them to slip through the water as if it weren't there at all. As we pull back the curtain on these high-speed anomalies, we have to ask ourselves, are we tracking the secret weapons of a terrestrial superpower, or are we witnessing the presence of an intelligence that has called our oceans home for thousands of years? The Navy's own sensor data suggests that the deep sea is no longer a silent void. It is a crowded highway for technology that is centuries ahead of our own. Join us as we go beneath the surface. This is the truth behind the USOs. The mystery of USOs did not begin with modern sonar or 21st century satellites. If we look back through the logbooks of history, we find that sailors have been reporting strange lights and high-speed crafts emerging from the depths for centuries. Even Christopher Columbus, on the night of October 11, 1492, recorded in his journal a mysterious light shimmering like a small wax candle that rose from the sea and hovered in the distance. But the phenomenon took a dark and much more technical turn during the 20th century, specifically at the height of the Cold War. In the 1960s and 70s, the ocean floor became the ultimate hide-and-seek arena for the United States and the Soviet Union. Both superpowers were deploying nuclear-armed submarines, and the need for silent, undetectable travel was a matter of national survival. It was during this period of extreme surveillance that the Navy began to realize they weren't alone in the deep. One of the most chilling incidents occurred in 1963 involving the USS Wasp, an aircraft carrier leading a task force in the Atlantic. During a routine exercise, sonar operators detected an object that shook the entire crew's understanding of maritime limits. The anomaly was traveling at a staggering 150 knots, nearly 3 times the speed of any submarine in existence. To put this in perspective, even today, in 2026, the world's most advanced nuclear submarines struggle to exceed 35 knots while submerged. The Wasp tracked this fast mover for 4 days. It wasn't just moving fast, it was diving to depths of 20,000 feet and then surfacing in seconds. No man-made hull of that era, or even our current era, could survive the rapid pressure changes of such a maneuver. Across the globe, the Soviets were having their own terrifying encounters. In 1982, Soviet divers in Lake Baikal, the deepest freshwater lake on Earth, reported encountering humanoid beings dressed in silvery suits at a depth of 150 feet. These beings possessed no visible breathing apparatus, but moved with incredible speed through the freezing water. When the Soviet divers attempted to capture one with a net, a mysterious force field-like energy propelled them back to the surface so violently that most of the team died from decompression sickness, commonly known as the bends. This wasn't an isolated case. During Operation Mainbrace in 1952, a massive NATO naval exercise, dozens of high-ranking officers witnessed silver, disc-shaped objects hovering near the fleet before plunging silently into the North Sea. These historical accounts are critical because they prove one thing: these anomalies predate our own drone technology and stealth capabilities. In the intelligence community, these sightings are often filed under acoustic anomalies, but the veteran sonar men who heard them tell a different story. They describe the sound of whirring or mechanical hums that move with a deliberate intelligence. These objects seem to know where our most sensitive military assets are located, often appearing during high-stakes drills or near nuclear testing sites. They are not merely drifting, they are observing. And as we moved into the digital age, these historical ghosts began to show up on our most advanced infrared and radar systems with terrifying clarity. To truly understand why the U.S. Navy is so baffled by these objects, we have to look at the brutal reality of physics. Moving through water is fundamentally different from moving through the air. Water is approximately 784 times denser than air at sea level. This density creates what engineers call hydrodynamic drag, a massive resistance that increases exponentially as you go faster. If you try to push a vehicle through the ocean at 150 knots, the water becomes as hard as concrete. The pressure and friction alone would generate enough heat to melt most conventional alloys. Yet, USOs move through this environment as if the water is non-existent. How? One theory often discussed by naval engineers is a phenomenon known as supercavitation. In our current 2026 technology, we use this in a very limited way, specifically with the Russian Shkval torpedo. Supercavitation works by creating a bubble of gas around the object. By vaporizing the water at the nose of the craft, the entire body of the vehicle travels inside a vapor pocket, touching only gas instead of liquid. This reduces drag by 900%, allowing for incredible speeds. However, supercavitation has a massive flaw. It is incredibly loud, it requires a straight line, and it creates a massive trail of bubbles. The USOs detected by our sonar technicians are different. They are often silent, and they can make 90-degree turns at hypersonic speeds. This suggests that USOs are not just using bubbles, they are using vacuum engineering. Theoretical physicists suggest that these crafts may be utilizing a hydrodynamic vacuum field. Instead of pushing the water aside, the craft might be manipulating gravity or using high-frequency electromagnetic fields to push the water molecules away before the hull ever touches them. Imagine a craft that creates a void in the ocean a split second before it moves into it. In this scenario, the USO isn't actually traveling through the water, it is traveling through a self-generated pocket of empty space within the water. This would explain the lack of a sonic boom or a hydraulic ram effect. When a submarine moves fast, it creates a displacement wave that can be felt miles away. But USOs are acoustically transparent. They move at thousands of miles per hour without leaving a wake or a shock wave. To our current sensors, it's as if they are ghosts moving through a solid wall. But there is a more terrifying possibility. If these objects can manipulate mass and gravity to move through water this easily, they could theoretically do the same through the Earth's crust. This leads us to the shadow biosphere theory, the idea that an advanced intelligence isn't coming from another planet, but has always been here, residing in the high-pressure, high-heat environments of the Earth's mantle or deep-sea trenches where human technology cannot follow. In the next chapter, we will look at the most damning evidence ever captured on film, the 2013 Aguadilla incident, where a USO was caught on thermal cameras doing the one thing that should be physically impossible, splitting in two while submerged. While sonar pings and historical journals provide a compelling narrative, the modern era of 2026 demands visual, undeniable proof. For the intelligence community, that proof arrived on April 25, 2013, near Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. This wasn't a grainy photo from a tourist. This was high-end thermal data captured by a U.S. Customs and Border Protection DHC-8 aircraft. As the crew was conducting a routine surveillance mission, they spotted a low-flying object on their thermal imaging system. What follows is perhaps the most analyzed 3 minutes of footage in the history of unidentified phenomena. The object, roughly the size of a small car, was traveling at speeds between 80 and 120 miles per hour. It showed no signs of wings, rotors, or any visible means of propulsion like a jet engine. But it was what the object did next that defied every aerodynamic principle we know. The craft glided toward the Atlantic Ocean and, without slowing down or changing its trajectory, it plunged directly into the waves. In the thermal footage, you can see the object remain hot even under the cold water. It moved through the surf with zero impact on its velocity. But the true smoking gun occurred seconds later. While submerged, the object appeared to split into two distinct, identical crafts. Both newly formed objects continued to fly through the water side by side before emerging back into the air and disappearing. A forensic analysis conducted by the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, a team of former NASA and military scientists, spent over a year deconstructing this footage. Their conclusion was staggering. The object was not a bird, not a balloon, and certainly not a drone. No known drone in 2013, or even now in 2026, can fly at 100 miles per hour and then transition into the water without losing momentum. The sheer energy required to maintain that speed underwater, where the density is nearly 800 times higher than air, would have required a power source beyond our current capability. But why Puerto Rico? This brings us to a chilling realization. Puerto Rico sits on the edge of the Puerto Rico Trench, the deepest part of the Atlantic Ocean, reaching depths of over 27,000 feet. This trench is a tectonic subduction zone, a place where the Earth's crust is literally being pushed down into the mantle. It is a place of extreme pressure, total darkness, and geological instability. To the Navy's elite sonar operators, the Aguadilla incident confirmed a long-standing fear. These objects are not just passing through, they are utilizing the deep-sea trenches of our planet as highways, or perhaps as sanctuary. In the deep ocean, they are safe from our radar, our satellites, and our missiles. They are operating in a domain where we are blind. This isn't just about a strange light in the sky. This is about a physical craft that can manipulate matter at a molecular level, splitting its own structure while submerged. If a technology can split in two and rejoin while moving through a high-density liquid, it suggests a mastery of molecular cohesion that makes our most advanced stealth submarines look like primitive wooden rafts. But Aguadilla was only the tip of the iceberg. Behind the scenes, the Navy has been tracking something even faster, something they call fast movers, objects that move through the deep ocean at speeds that shouldn't just be impossible, they should be cataclysmic. To understand how the U.S. Navy tracks the untrackable, we have to look at the most secretive surveillance network ever built, SOSUS. Short for Sound Surveillance System, this Cold War-era relic consists of thousands of hydrophones, underwater microphones, laid across the ocean floor. Originally designed to track Soviet nuclear submarines by their acoustic signatures, SOSUS is so sensitive it can detect a whale song from thousands of miles away. But for decades, SOSUS has been picking up sounds that the Pentagon has classified as acoustic anomalies. Among the sailors who monitor these sensors, they have a more direct name: fast movers. In the world of 2026, we are used to fast jets in the sky, but sound travels differently underwater. In the ocean, sound moves 4 times faster than it does in the air. This makes acoustic data the primary vision for any submarine. When a SOSUS operator detects a fast mover, they aren't just seeing a blip on a screen. They are hearing the physical displacement of water by an object moving at speeds that defy naval engineering. Most modern submarines have a cavitation limit. If a propeller spins too fast, it creates low-pressure bubbles that collapse with enough force to pit metal and create a deafening noise. Because of this, submarines are forced to move slowly to stay silent, but fast movers are different. They have been recorded traveling at speeds exceeding 200 knots, nearly 230 miles per hour, without the telltale signature of cavitation. Even more disturbing is the bloop phenomenon. While the famous 1997 bloop sound was eventually attributed to icequakes, veterans of the Navy's acoustic intelligence units claim that SOSUS frequently detects mechanical bloops, short, high-energy acoustic pulses that originate from the deepest trenches. These sounds don't mimic any known biological life form. They don't have the rhythmic beat of a whale or the screech of a dolphin. They sound like heavy machinery operating under thousands of pounds of pressure. Why does the Navy keep this so secret? Because admitting that there are objects moving at 200 knots in our territorial waters reveals a terrifying strategic weakness. If an adversary or an unknown intelligence can move that fast underwater, our entire carrier strike group architecture is obsolete. A fast mover could strike a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier before the ship's defensive sonar could even process the threat. In 2021, a leaked report from the Pentagon's UAP task force confirmed that Navy sonar technicians have tracked these fast movers entering and exiting the water near sensitive military exercise areas. They appear to be particularly interested in our acoustic advantage. Every submarine has a unique acoustic fingerprint. By hovering near our subs, these USOs may be mapping our technology, learning how we communicate, and identifying our vulnerabilities. But where are they going when they disappear? When the SOSUS pings fade into the deep, they always seem to head toward the same geographic hotspots. This leads us to a theory that many in the intelligence community discuss only behind closed doors. the existence of permanent underwater infrastructure that has remained hidden from humanity for eons. If USOs are physical, high-tech crafts, then they must have a point of origin. In the vastness of the world's oceans, certain coordinates appear time and again in classified naval logs. These are the hotspots, geographic anomalies where USO activity is so frequent that it suggests something more than just random sightings. At TrenchWaters, we look at the data, and the data points to a chilling possibility: permanent underwater infrastructure, or what some experts call submerged bases. One of the most active hotspots in the world lies just off the coast of Southern California in the Santa Catalina Channel. For years, residents and military pilots alike have reported orbs and metallic disks plunging into the water and emerging hours later. In 2026, leaked sonar bathymetry, the study of underwater depth and shapes, revealed a massive, anomalous structure on the seabed in this region. Resting at a depth of 2,000 feet, this Catalina anomaly features a flat, plateau-like top with distinct pillar-like supports that appear far too symmetrical to be a natural rock formation. But why the Catalina Channel? The answer may lie in its proximity to the Navy's most sensitive testing grounds. This area is home to the San Clemente Island high-stakes training range, where the Navy tests its most advanced drone and submarine technology. If you were an intelligence-gathering entity, there would be no better place to park your observation post than right under the nose of the world's most powerful military. Moving across the globe, we find the Dragon's Triangle in the Philippine Sea and the Baltic Sea anomaly. In 2011, a deep-sea salvage team known as Ocean X discovered a 200-foot-wide circular object on the floor of the Baltic Sea. What made this discovery terrifying wasn't just its Millennium Falcon shape, but the effect it had on technology. As the divers approached the object, their satellite phones and electrical equipment simply died. When they moved 200 meters away, everything turned back on. Forensic analysis of the silt around the object showed skid marks, as if a massive craft had performed a controlled landing on the seabed thousands of years ago. The theory of underwater bases is supported by the Navy's own observations of the hives. These are areas where dozens of USOs are seen hovering together before diving in sequence into the same localized area of a deep-sea trench. In the 2019 USS Omaha incident, radar footage captured 14 separate targets surrounding the ship before they all converged on a single point and vanished into the water. This wasn't a search mission, it looked like a coordinated return-to-base maneuver. Think about the strategic advantage of the deep ocean. At depths of 20,000 feet, the pressure is over 8,000 pounds per square inch. Human submarines cannot reach these depths without specialized thick-walled hulls that move at a snail's pace. To an intelligence with the mastery of gravity and vacuum engineering we discussed in Chapter 3, the deep trenches are the perfect fortress. They are invisible to our satellites, unreachable by our weapons, and shielded by miles of opaque, crushing water. Are these bases ancient, or are they being built right now? Some intelligence analysts worry that we are seeing the construction of a global shadow infrastructure. If these entities can manipulate the seabed as easily as we build on land, they could be tapping into the Earth's geothermal energy from hydrothermal vents to power their craft. We aren't just looking at visitors, we might be looking at a parallel civilization that has claimed the 70% of the planet we simply cannot inhabit. The most common question asked by skeptics and enthusiasts alike is simple. If the Navy has the data, why aren't they showing us? To understand the silence, you have to understand the doctrine of acoustic superiority. In the silent world of undersea warfare, your sensors are your life. For the U.S. Navy to release a high-resolution sonar recording of a USO, they would effectively be revealing the exact sensitivity and range of their billion-dollar hydrophone arrays to adversaries like Russia and China. To the Pentagon, protecting the source and method of how they detect an object is often more important than the object itself. However, as we move through 2026, the wall of secrecy is finally cracking. The turning point came with the rebranding of the Pentagon's investigation units into the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO. The word all-domain is critical here. It was a formal admission by the U.S. government that these anomalies are not just UFOs in the sky, but trans-medium threats that move from space to the seabed with total impunity. Behind closed doors, national security experts are kept awake at night by a terrifying concept: accidental conflict. Imagine a high-stakes naval drill in the South China Sea. A Chinese submarine commander detects a fast mover on his sonar, traveling at 200 knots. Assuming it's a secret American superweapon, he launches a countermeasure. The Americans, seeing the Chinese launch, retaliate. We could trigger a global war because of a third-party presence that neither side understands or controls. This isn't just a theory. In 2021, the USS Connecticut, a Seawolf-class nuclear attack submarine, struck an unidentified object while submerged in the South China Sea. The impact was so severe that the submarine had to be scrapped, and the Navy's explanation remained strangely vague, citing an uncharted seamount. But whistleblowers from within the fleet suggest that the sub's sonar was blinded by a localized acoustic jammer just seconds before the collision, a hallmark of USO interference. The Navy's silence is also driven by a deep-seated fear of technological inferiority. In the history of warfare, the side that controls the high ground wins. For the last century, that high ground was the air and space. But if there is an intelligence that controls the deep ground, the world's oceans, then our entire naval power, from our aircraft carriers to our nuclear deterrent, is essentially sitting ducks. In 2026, the landscape has new legislation to protect military whistleblowers, and for the first time, sonar technicians are coming forward. They describe the program, a shadow department within the Office of Naval Intelligence that immediately confiscates hard drives and signs sailors to lifelong non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, the moment a fast mover is detected. But why now? Why the shift towards transparency? Some believe it's because our own technology is finally catching up. With the deployment of AI-driven underwater sensor webs and deep-sea autonomous drones, we are starting to see the USOs more clearly than ever before. We are no longer just hearing ghosts in the machine. We are seeing the physical reality of a civilization that has stayed one step ahead of us for thousands of years. The question is no longer if they are there, but what their presence means for the future of human sovereignty over our own planet. As we stand on the threshold of 2026, the mystery of unidentified submerged objects has evolved from sailors' lore into a documented national security priority. We've traced their high-speed paths through the SOSUS arrays, analyzed their trans-medium leaps near Aguadilla, and looked into the dark geography of their suspected bases. But as the data piles up, the ultimate question remains: who or what is piloting these anomalies? If these are the secret weapons of a human superpower, then we have entered a new era of global instability where the laws of physics are being weaponized in the shadows. But the historical evidence suggests a much more humbling reality. These objects have been here since before the first steamship, before the first submarine, and perhaps before the rise of modern man. We are forced to consider the shadow biosphere hypothesis, the idea that an older, more advanced intelligence has existed alongside us, hidden in the 70% of our planet that we have consistently ignored. For centuries, humanity has looked to the stars with a sense of cosmic loneliness, wondering if we are the only intelligent life in the universe. We have spent billions on telescopes and space probes searching for a signal from the void, yet the evidence we have explored today suggests that the aliens we are looking for aren't light years away in a distant star system. They are right here, beneath thousands of feet of crushing salt water, watching us from the abyss. The oceans are the true silent frontier. They are the lungs of our planet, the engine of our climate, and now, it seems, the sanctuary for a technology that makes our most advanced engineering look like toys. As we continue to deploy new sensors and deep-sea drones, we are no longer just exploring the ocean, we are trespassing into a domain that has been claimed by someone else. The Navy's silence is finally breaking, not because they want to tell us the truth, but because they can no longer hide it. The ocean is becoming transparent, and as the lights of our technology shine into the deepest trenches, we may find that we are not the masters of this world that we thought we were. We are merely the surface dwellers, oblivious to the high-speed civilization moving beneath our feet. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the deep. This has been a TrenchWaters special investigation. If you found this dive into the world of USOs compelling, show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Our mission is to shine a light into the darkest corners of our world, and every subscriber helps us go deeper. Let us know in the comments, do you think the Navy is hiding a formal first contact that happened underwater? Or is there a natural, albeit unknown, explanation for the fast movers? Stay curious, stay vigilant, and remember, on this planet of vast blue oceans, the most dangerous secrets are always the ones lurking in the deep.